The presentation hall of the Galactic Medical Institute stretched before Dr. Taemin Kim like an arena. 500 seats rose in curved tiers, filled with physicians and scientists from 40 different species. Their eyes, some with multiple lenses and others that glowed in the dim light, all focused on him. Taemin stood at the podium, his hands slightly trembling as he prepared to defend his dissertation on human adaptive biology. He had worked for 6 years to reach this moment. 6 years of late nights, rejected papers, and whispered doubts from colleagues who wondered if a human really belonged at the most prestigious medical institution in the galaxy. Today would prove them wrong. Today would show them that human medicine had value. Distinguished members of the council, Taemin began, his voice carrying through the hall. My research demonstrates that human biological systems possess unique adaptive capabilities that warrant serious study. A low rumble came from the front row. Dr. Velroth, the head of comparative biology, shifted his massive frame. The Krillian physician stood nearly 8 feet tall, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light. He had won the Galactic Prize for Medical Excellence 3 times. His opinions shaped entire fields of study. Taemin continued, pulling up holographic displays of human cellular structures. The human immune system shows remarkable learning capacity. When exposed to pathogens, it creates specific antibodies and retains memory of threats for decades. Primitive, Velroth interrupted, his voice booming. Reactive rather than proactive. Krillian immune systems are comprehensive from birth. We do not need to learn. We simply know. Several alien physicians chittered in agreement. Taemin felt heat rising to his face but pressed on. Human endurance capabilities are also exceptional. Our ancestors could pursue prey for days without stopping. Days? A Vryn doctor called out from the middle section. Our species can enter stasis for months without food or water. Your endurance is nothing special. Velroth stood and the room fell silent. He moved down the steps toward the podium, each footfall echoing. Let us be honest about human biology. You have no natural armor. Your skin tears easily. You lack regenerative abilities beyond basic wound closure. You require constant feeding multiple times per day. Your single-chamber hearts are vulnerable to countless failures. You cannot see in darkness. You cannot hear ultrasonic frequencies. You are, by any objective measure, poorly designed. The words hit Taemin like physical blows. He opened his mouth to respond, but Velroth was not finished. You come before this council claiming your species deserves study, but what I see is a fragile, inefficient organism that somehow survived long enough to develop technology. You are not special. You are simply lucky. Laughter rippled through the audience, not cruel laughter, but the kind that comes from shared understanding. They agreed with Velroth. To them it was obvious. Taemin gripped the podium. If you would let me finish my presentation, I can show data that... The doors at the back of the hall burst open. Jiwoo Park, Taemin's research assistant, rushed in supporting a young woman who looked barely conscious. We need help. She collapsed outside. Medical staff hurried toward them. Taemin recognized the woman as Hee-Jin Lee, the daughter of the human ambassador. She was supposed to attend his presentation. Now she sagged against Jiwoo, her skin pale and covered in sweat. What are her symptoms? Velroth asked, his professional instincts overriding the moment. Fever, disorientation, rapid heartbeat, Jiwoo reported. She was fine an hour ago. Velroth scanned Hee-Jin with a medical tricorder. Fascinating. Her body is in systemic shock from what appears to be a minor bacterial infection. This is exactly what I mean. He turned to address the crowd. A healthy Krillian would neutralize this threat without symptoms. But humans, they collapse. They suffer. They require intervention for problems our bodies handle automatically. Medical staff carried Hee-Jin out on a stretcher. Taemin watched her go, feeling his years of work crumbling. How could he argue for human capability when one of his own species had just proven Velroth's point? The Krillian doctor returned to his seat, satisfaction evident in his posture. Dr. Kim, I suggest you reconsider your thesis. Perhaps focus on fields where humans have proven competence, rather than making claims about biological superiority you cannot support. Taemin looked at his holographic displays, at the data he had gathered so carefully, charts showing human adaptability, graphs demonstrating recovery rates, evidence that he now saw through their eyes, the eyes of beings who measured strength by static capability rather than potential for change. But something burned inside him. A stubborn refusal to accept their judgment. His grandmother had been a doctor during the Unification Wars. She had saved hundreds of lives with limited equipment and no advanced alien technology. She had taught him that humans survived not because they were strong, but because they refused to quit. "I request permission to conduct comparative stress tests," Taman said clearly. The room quieted. Velroth's eyes, dark and multifaceted, fixed on him. "Excuse me? You claim human biology is inferior. I propose we test that claim scientifically. Human subjects against Krillian subjects, measured across multiple categories. Endurance, recovery, adaptation to extreme conditions." Murmurs filled the hall. The chairman of the medical council, Thulmakir, leaned forward. His species, the Kelth, were known for fairness. "This is unusual, Dr. Kim. Such tests would take weeks, perhaps months. I am willing to dedicate the time, sir. I believe the results will speak for themselves." Velroth laughed, a sound like crystals chiming. "You wish to compare your soft bodies to Krillian physiology? This will be educational for you. I accept your challenge. I will even volunteer my own biology for comparison." The chairman looked between them. "Very well. The council grants permission for controlled testing. Dr. Kim, you will have full access to our facilities. However, if your human subjects fail to demonstrate measurable advantages, you will withdraw your dissertation and formally acknowledge the council's assessment of human biology. Do you agree to these terms?" It was a trap. If Taman lost, his career was finished. Every human researcher would face increased skepticism. But if he backed down now, the result was the same. At least this way, he had a chance. "I agree. Then we will reconvene when your testing is complete." Council dismissed. The physicians filed out, many glancing at Taman with what he interpreted as pity. Jiwoo waited by the door, looking worried. "Did you really just challenge Velroth to a biology competition?" Jiwoo asked as they walked toward the medical wing to check on Hyejin. "I think I did. He is going to destroy us. You know that, right? Krillians are built like living tanks. We are built like humans." Taman stopped walking. Through a window he could see Earth in the distance, a blue marble hanging in space. Billions of humans lived on that planet, descendants of ancestors who had survived ice ages, plagues, predators, and each other. They were not the strongest species. They were not the fastest, but they were still here. "Jiwoo, I need you to help me recruit test subjects. We need people willing to undergo serious physical stress testing. Are you sure about this?" Taman thought about Velroth's words. Fragile, inefficient, lucky. He thought about his grandmother, working 70-hour shifts in a field hospital, refusing to quit even when her hands shook from exhaustion. He thought about human history, written in survival against impossible odds. "No," he admitted, "but we are doing it anyway." The testing facility occupied an entire wing of Proxima Station. Taman stood in the observation room, watching technicians prepare the equipment. Banks of monitors lined the walls, ready to track every biological measurement imaginable. Heart rate, oxygen consumption, cellular regeneration, neural activity, hormone levels, everything would be recorded and analyzed. Dr. Sung-Ho Choi arrived carrying a medical bag. The emergency physician had volunteered immediately when he heard about the tests. "I brought the good stuff," Sung-Ho said, setting down equipment. "If we are going to do this, we do it properly." "Thank you for coming. Are you kidding? Someone finally gives humans a chance to prove themselves and you think I would miss it?" Sung-Ho grinned. "Besides, Velroth has been insufferable for years. Time someone challenged him." Jiwoo entered with their first test subject, Kyung-Soo Bae. The former military man looked calm despite what lay ahead. He had survived combat on 3 different worlds. These tests would push him harder than any battle. "Mr. Bae, you understand the protocols?" Taman asked. "Yes, sir. 72 hours of continuous stress testing. No breaks except for basic hygiene. Minimal food and water. They will measure everything. You can withdraw at any time." Kyung-Soo smiled. "Respectfully, doctor, I did not come here to quit." Across the facility, Velroth was preparing his own Krillian subjects. Taman could see them through the connecting window. Massive beings with armor-like skin and muscles that looked carved from stone. They exuded confidence. Next to them, Kyung-Soo appeared small and vulnerable. Da-Un Han, the human biochemist assigned to analyze the results, joined them. She carried multiple data tablets and looked nervous. "I have set up the monitoring systems. We will track everything down to individual cellular responses." "Good," Taman said. We need perfect documentation. They will look for any excuse to dismiss our results. The chairman Thulmakir arrived with Ixthar, Velroth's research partner. The Vryn scientist was known for precision and objectivity. He nodded politely to the humans. I will ensure all protocols are followed exactly. This will be a fair test. We appreciate that, Taman replied. Velroth strode into the observation room, his presence dominating the space. Shall we begin? I am eager to conclude this demonstration. The first phase tested raw strength and endurance. Subjects would run, lift, and perform physical challenges until they reached failure points. Then they would be given minimal rest before starting again. The cycle would continue for 3 days. The Krillian subjects started strong. They moved through exercises with mechanical efficiency, their power output measured in numbers that made the humans look weak. After 8 hours, they showed minimal fatigue. Their heart rates barely elevated. Their breathing remained steady. Kyung-soo struggled by comparison. After 6 hours, sweat soaked his clothing. His heart rate climbed. His movements slowed. The monitors showed stress markers flooding his system. Your subject is failing, Velroth observed. Should we stop before he injures himself? He is not asked to stop, Taman replied, though worry gnawed at him. But something strange began happening around hour 12. Kyung-soo's efficiency started improving, not dramatically but measurably. His heart rate, which had peaked at 160 beats per minute, dropped to 130 even as he maintained the same work output. Dayun noticed it first. Look at his oxygen consumption. It is decreasing. Equipment malfunction, Velroth suggested. No malfunction, Ixthar confirmed after checking. The readings are accurate. By hour 24, the pattern was undeniable. While the Krillian subjects maintained their initial performance levels, Kyung-soo was getting better. His body was adapting in real time. This makes no sense, Velroth muttered, studying the data. Biological systems do not improve under sustained stress. They degrade. Human systems do not, Sung-ho said quietly. We are built for it. The Krillian doctor dismissed this with a wave. Temporary adrenaline response. His body is burning through reserves. When they deplete, he will collapse catastrophically. But Kyung-soo did not collapse. At the 48-hour mark, when the Krillian subjects completed their testing with impressive final numbers, the human was still going. More importantly, his cellular data showed something remarkable. Dayun pulled up microscopic imagery. His muscle fibers are restructuring. The mitochondria are multiplying. His body is actively upgrading itself to meet the demands. Impossible, Velroth said. Muscles require weeks to adapt through training. Human muscles adapt continuously, Dayun countered. We do not wait for training cycles. We change in real time. Taman watched Kyung-soo on the monitors. The man looked exhausted, his face drawn and his movements slower than when he started. But the numbers told a different story. His efficiency had improved by 17%. His body was learning to do more with less. When the 72 hours ended, Kyung-soo finally stopped. He collapsed onto a bench, breathing hard. Medical staff immediately began assessment protocols. Vital signs are stressed but stable, Sung-ho reported. No permanent damage. Elevated cortisol and other stress hormones, but within acceptable ranges. The Krillian subjects had scored higher in raw power output, but Kyung-soo had demonstrated something they had not: improvement under pressure. One test proves nothing, Velroth declared. We need more subjects, more conditions. Agreed, Taman said. He had expected this. We have other volunteers ready. Over the next week, they tested 5 more subjects from each species. Velroth carefully selected his Krillians, all peak physical specimens. The humans were more varied. There was Min Ji-yoon, a civilian administrator with no special training. Jae Hyun-oh, an astrophysicist who admitted he rarely exercised, 2 more former military personnel, and 1 construction worker. The results should have been predictable. Elite Krillian warriors against average humans. But the data kept showing the same patterns. Initial measurements favored the Krillians dramatically. They were stronger, faster, more efficient. But as the tests continued, the human numbers changed. Not their raw power. Humans remained physically weaker. But their efficiency improved. Their recovery speeds accelerated. Their bodies adapted. Minji surprised everyone. The small woman with no combat training outlasted a Krillian veteran in a recovery-focused endurance test. After 36 hours of repeated stress cycles with minimal rest, her body had learned to maximize every minute of downtime. While the Krillian soldier recovered in a linear fashion, Minji's body was actively prioritizing repairs, almost like it knew what needed fixing most urgently. Dayun's analysis revealed the mechanism. Human cells have incredible plasticity. When we encounter stress, our bodies do not just repair damage. They rebuild stronger. Every stress cycle is a teaching moment for our biology. Jae-hyun's results were even more striking. The astrophysicist was tasked with solving complex mathematical problems, while under physical and mental stress. His initial performance was poor. He could barely think while exhausted. But by day 3, his brain had created new neural pathways. He was solving problems faster under stress than he did when fresh. "This is not normal biology," Ixthar said, studying the brain scans. "His neural structures have physically changed in 72 hours. Human brains are plastic throughout life," Sung-ho explained. "We never stop adapting." Velroth grew increasingly agitated as the data accumulated. He demanded additional verification, certain there must be contamination or experimental error, but Ixthar found nothing wrong. The results were legitimate. Jiwoo compiled the week's findings into a presentation. When they gathered to review it, the implications were clear. In every short-term measurement, Krillians were superior. But in every adaptation-based measurement, humans improved while Krillians plateaued. "Your subjects are burning out," Velroth insisted. "This level of cellular change cannot be sustained. They will suffer long-term damage." "Then we continue testing," Taemin said. "We measure recovery over weeks, not days. We see who truly adapts and who merely endures." "You want more time?" "I want the truth." Velroth stared at him, those crystalline eyes unreadable. Finally, he nodded. "Very well. We extend the protocols, but when your humans break down from this cellular abuse, you will acknowledge it." That night, Taemin visited Kyung-soo in the recovery ward. The former soldier was eating his third meal, his appetite enormous after the testing. "How do you feel?" Taemin asked. "Tired, hungry, but okay. Actually better than okay." Kyung-soo flexed his hand. "I feel stronger than before we started." "Is that crazy?" "No," Taemin said, looking at the man's updated medical readings. "That is exactly what the data shows. Your body used the stress as training. You are literally better than you were." Kyung-soo grinned. "Then bring on the next test. Let us show them what humans can do." Week 2 brought more subjects and more sophisticated testing protocols. The Medical Institute's equipment could measure biological processes that most species never even noticed in themselves. For humans, these measurements revealed a body in constant conversation with itself, always adjusting and optimizing. Taemin stood in the laboratory with Dayun, examining microscopic footage of human muscle tissue taken from Kyung-soo before and after testing. The difference was striking. "Look at the mitochondrial density," Dayun said, pointing at the screen. "It increased by 34%. These are the same cells, the same tissue, but they restructured themselves to produce more energy." In 2 weeks. Krillian tissue shows zero change over the same period. They start efficient and stay efficient. We start less efficient and become more efficient. Jiwoo entered with news. "Minji just completed the second endurance cycle. You need to see her numbers." They moved to the monitoring room where Minji was finishing her test. The civilian volunteer had now undergone 2 weeks of progressively challenging physical stress. According to conventional medical wisdom, she should be breaking down. Her body should be accumulating damage faster than it could repair. Instead, her recovery metrics were improving. "Impossible," one of the Vrin medical students whispered. "She is recovering faster than she did in week 1. Sung-ho pulled up the comparison data. Her baseline heart rate decreased by 8 beats per minute. Her lung capacity increased by 12%. Her cellular repair mechanisms are operating at twice the speed they were initially. It is like her body learned what was coming and prepared for it," Jiwoo said. "That is exactly what happened," Dayun confirmed. "Human biology is predictive. When we encounter repeated stress, our bodies do not just cope with the current challenge. They prepare for future challenges." Velroth arrived with Ixthar, both looking concerned. The Krillian doctor had been growing quieter as the tests progressed. The certainty he had shown during Taemin's presentation had developed cracks. "I want to see your cellular data," Velroth demanded. Dayun pulled up the files without argument. She had nothing to hide. The data spoke for itself. Velroth studied the screens in silence. His partner Ixthar examined the molecular structures, comparing human and Krillian samples side by side. The Vryn scientist was known for his objectivity, and his expression showed genuine confusion. "This should not be possible," Ixthar finally said. "Biological optimization requires genetic changes across generations. What you are showing is adaptation within a single lifetime, within weeks. Human genetics include extensive regulatory mechanisms," Doan explained. "We have genes that activate or deactivate based on environmental pressure. Our DNA is not a fixed blueprint. It is more like a library, and our bodies choose which books to read based on what we need." "All species have some gene regulation," Velroth countered. "Not like this," Doan said. She pulled up a comparison chart. "Krillian gene expression changes by approximately 2% under sustained stress. Human gene expression can change by 40% or more. We are built to rewrite our own biology." New test subjects had arrived. Jae-hyun, the astrophysicist, was preparing for cognitive stress testing. Korvex, a member of the Medical Ethics Committee, had come to observe. His species, the Kelth, were known as fair arbiters in disputes. "I am here to verify the protocols," Korvex announced. "There have been questions about the validity of these results." "We welcome scrutiny," Taemin said. "Please examine everything." Jae-hyun's test involved solving complex problems while under physical duress. He would run on a treadmill at increasing speeds while calculation challenges appeared on a screen. The test measured how well his brain functioned when his body was stressed. The first day, Jae-hyun's performance degraded badly as fatigue set in. His problem-solving speed dropped by 60%. His error rate skyrocketed. It looked like clear evidence that humans could not think effectively under stress, but they repeated the test every day for a week. By day 3, Jae-hyun's degradation was only 40%. By day 5, only 20%. By day 7, he was solving problems faster while exhausted than he had solved them while fresh on day 1. "His brain is rewiring itself," Daeun said, showing the neural imaging to Korvex. New connections formed between regions that handle calculation and regions that manage stress response. His brain learned to operate in crisis mode. In 1 week, Korvex's tone showed disbelief. "Human brains maintain neuroplasticity throughout life," Sung-ho explained. "We never stop learning, never stop adapting. A human at 80 years old can still form new neural pathways. Can your species do that?" Korvex was quiet for a moment. "No. Our neural structures stabilize after maturity. We gain experience but do not form new physical connections. Most species are like that," Sung-ho said. "Humans are not." The observation bothered Velroth visibly. He demanded independent genetic testing. Certain the humans must be using some kind of enhancement. Korvex agreed to oversee the testing personally. They took samples from all human subjects: blood, tissue, genetic material. The analysis took 3 days. When the results came back, they confirmed what Taemin already knew. The humans were completely natural. No modifications, no enhancements, no tricks. Then how? Velroth asked, and for the first time he sounded less angry and more genuinely curious. Jiwoo had been researching human evolutionary history. She compiled a presentation and requested time to share it. They gathered in a conference room: Taemin, Velroth, Ixthar, Korvex, and various medical staff. "I studied Earth's history," Jiwoo began. "I wanted to understand why humans are the way we are. What I found was terrifying." She displayed images of Earth: beautiful oceans, green forests, majestic mountains. But then she showed the data. Temperature variations that could swing 60 degrees in a day. Gravity that was higher than 70% of habitable worlds. An atmosphere that had catastrophically changed composition multiple times. Predators that hunted humans for millions of years. Diseases that killed millions. Ice ages, volcanic winters, asteroid impacts. Earth is classified as a death world, Jiwoo continued. The Galactic Habitability Index rates it as marginal for complex life. Yet humans evolved there, not just survived, thrived. "Many species come from difficult worlds," Velroth said. "Not like Earth. Most difficult worlds have one major challenge: extreme heat or extreme cold, high gravity or toxic atmosphere. Earth has everything. Humans did not evolve to handle one specific threat. We evolved to handle constant, unpredictable change." She showed a video of human persistence hunting. Ancient humans running after prey for hours until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. No other predator hunts like this. We are not fast. We are not strong. But we never stop. We chase until we win. Images of human history followed. Humans crossing frozen land bridges to new continents. Humans surviving plagues that killed half their population. Humans building cities in deserts, jungles, mountains, and tundra. We are generalists, Jiwoo said. Every other species optimizes for their environment. Humans optimize for change itself. Our weakness is our strength. We are not built for one challenge. We are built to face anything. The room was silent. Taemin watched Velroth process this information. The Krillian doctor stared at the images of Earth, at the hostile, beautiful planet that had forged humanity. Your metabolism, Velroth said slowly. I called it inefficient because it requires constant feeding. But it is not inefficient, it is fast. It gives you energy for constant adaptation. Yes, Daun confirmed. Your vulnerable skin. I said it was a weakness. But it regulates temperature better than armor. It lets you survive in more climates. Yes. Your persistence hunting adaptation. I called it poor endurance. But no other species can run for days. You're the only species in the galaxy that evolved for ultra-endurance. Yes. Velroth stood and walked to the window. Outside, Earth was visible in the distance, a small blue sphere. I measured you by Krillian standards. By standards of species that evolved on stable, predictable worlds. But you are not like us. You are something else entirely. Ixthar spoke up. The test data makes sense now. Krillian biology is optimized. It does not need to change because our world does not change. Human biology is not optimized, it is adaptive. You sacrifice initial efficiency for the ability to improve, which means in any stable environment, you will measure as inferior, Korvax added. But in changing conditions, you will surpass those who cannot adapt. Taemin felt something loosen in his chest. They were beginning to understand. Finally, we need to continue testing, Velroth said. But with different metrics. We have been measuring the wrong things. Agreed, Taemin replied. That evening, Taemin found Minji in the recovery area. She was stretching, preparing for the next day's tests. How do you do it, he asked. You are not military. You have no special training. Yet you match or exceed trained Krillian soldiers. Minji smiled. My grandmother was a farmer. She worked until she was 93 years old. My grandfather was a fisherman in rough seas. They taught me that humans do not quit. We get tired, we hurt, but we keep going. That is what we do. That is what we do, Taemin repeated. It sounded like poetry. It sounded like truth. Week 3 began with a disaster that changed everything. Taemin was reviewing cellular data with Daun when the alarm sounded. Red lights flashed throughout the facility. A voice over the speakers announced an emergency in Testing Wing 7, the area where they were conducting extreme environment simulations. They ran. Sung-ho arrived first, his medical training putting him ahead of the others. Smoke filled the corridor. A coolant line had ruptured during a cold exposure test, flooding the chamber with sub-zero liquid nitrogen. Emergency systems were trying to evacuate the gas, but it was too late for the subjects inside. 3 Krillian test subjects and 1 human were in that chamber. The human was Dongwook Nam, a construction worker who had volunteered because he had survived 3 different workplace accidents. He joked that he was too stubborn to die. When they finally opened the chamber, the scene was catastrophic. The Krillian subjects were unconscious but alive. Their natural armor had protected them somewhat from the cold. But Dongwook was worse. His exposed skin showed signs of severe frostbite. His core temperature had dropped to dangerous levels. His breathing was shallow and irregular. Get him to emergency medical, Sung-ho ordered, already working to stabilize the man. Velroth arrived as they loaded Dongwook onto a transport. The Krillian doctor examined the readings and his expression darkened. His tissue damage is extensive. Cell death across multiple organ systems. He will not survive this. He will survive, Sung-ho said firmly. Help me or get out of my way. They rushed Dongwook to the main medical center. Taemin followed, his mind racing. This was his fault. He had pushed for these tests. He had convinced people to volunteer. If Dongwook died, it would be on him. The medical bay became a controlled chaos of activity. Sung-ho worked with alien physicians, combining human and galactic medical techniques. They stabilized Dongwook's temperature, but the cellular damage was severe. His kidneys are failing, a Vryn nurse reported. Liver function is dropping, another voice called. Heart rhythm is unstable. Velroth stood back, watching. He looked troubled. Even with our best technology, his damage is too extensive. Perhaps if he were Krillian, but human tissue lacks the resilience to recover from this. Watch, Sung Ho said through gritted teeth. Hours passed. Taemin sat in the observation area with Jiwoo, both of them exhausted and scared. Daeun arrived with her portable analysis equipment, determined to monitor whatever happened at the cellular level. As dawn approached, something changed. His kidney function is improving, the Vryn nurse said, surprised. Heart rhythm stabilizing, another reported. Sung Ho checked the readings, then checked them again. His cellular repair mechanisms have activated across all systems simultaneously. I have never seen a coordinated response like this. Daeun was recording everything. Under her microscopic scanners, Dongwook's cells were working overtime. Dead tissue was being cleared away. Blood flow was being rerouted to critical areas. Stem cells were mobilizing from bone marrow to damaged organs. This is impossible, Velroth said, but his voice held wonder rather than dismissal. No species can coordinate system-wide healing like this. Humans can, Daeun replied. When we face life-threatening damage, our bodies enter crisis mode. Everything works together. It is not just healing, it is triage. His body is prioritizing what matters most. Chairman Thulmakir arrived, having heard about the accident. He stood beside Velroth, watching the monitors. I have practiced medicine for 60 years. I have never witnessed healing of this speed. By the second day, Dongwook regained consciousness. He was weak and exhausted, but alive. More than alive, recovering at a pace that stunned the alien medical staff. How do you feel? Taemin asked, visiting his bedside. Like I got hit by a transport, Dongwook rasped. But I am okay. I have been hurt worse. You nearly died, but I did not. We are tough, us humans. We keep going. Velroth requested complete cellular analysis of Dongwook's recovery. With permission, they took samples every 6 hours, tracking the healing process in detail. What they found changed the entire direction of their research. Human healing was not just fast, it was intelligent. Daeun presented the data to an expanded council meeting. Medical experts from across the station attended, word having spread about the miraculous recovery. Look at how his body managed resources, Daeun explained, showing cellular imagery. His digestive system slowed to minimal function, redirecting energy to critical repairs. His muscles broke down slightly, providing amino acids for organ reconstruction. His immune system went into overdrive, but in a targeted way. No wasted inflammation, just precise removal of damaged tissue. It is like his body performed battlefield medicine on itself, Ixthar observed. That is exactly what happened, Daeun confirmed. Humans evolved with constant injury. Hunting accidents, falls, predator attacks, infections. We could not rely on static defenses like armor or regenerative abilities. We needed smart, fast, adaptable healing. So that is what we developed. Sung Ho added medical context. Human emergency medicine is built around this natural capability. We support what the body already wants to do. Other species need technology to heal major trauma. Humans just need time and resources. The implications rippled through the medical community. If human healing was this sophisticated, what else had they missed? Velroth stood before the council. The proud Krillian doctor looked different now, humbled but also excited, like a scientist confronting a mystery he had never expected. I propose we expand our testing significantly. We need complete analysis of human adaptive biology. This is not about proving superiority anymore. This is about understanding something genuinely unique. Agreed, Chairman Thulmakir said. Dr. Kim, what do you need? Taemin looked at Jiwoo, at Sung Ho, at Daeun. His small team had come so far. We need to test human capabilities against the full range of challenges our species evolved to face. Temperature extremes, oxygen variations, disease exposure, psychological stress, everything. That will take months, Velroth said. Then we take months. Over the following weeks, the testing became comprehensive. They brought in human volunteers from across the station, not just the young and fit, but people of all ages and backgrounds. Engineers, artists, teachers, parents. They wanted to see if this adaptability was limited to certain humans or if it was universal. It was universal. A 60-year-old human teacher named Bora Shin outperformed young Krillian soldiers in adaptation tests. Her body, despite being older, still maintained the ability to rewrite itself under stress. A journalist who had never trained for physical challenges discovered she could develop new capabilities in days rather than months. Age slows humans down, but does not stop the adaptation, Daun reported. A 70-year-old human retains more adaptive capability than a prime-age Krillian. They tested human immune response against controlled pathogen exposure. The results were fascinating. Where other species had fixed immune responses, human immune systems learned each time they encountered a threat. They kept libraries of previous infections and could respond faster with each exposure. "You are living medical databases," Ixthar said in amazement. "Every human carries an archive of every illness they ever fought. Your bodies remember and prepare." The psychological testing revealed more surprises. Humans processed stress differently than other species. Where aliens became less capable under pressure, humans could enter states where stress actually improved performance. "It is called flow state," Sung-Ho explained. "When challenged appropriately, human brains enter a mode of enhanced focus and capability. We literally get better at tasks when they are difficult enough to engage us fully but not so difficult we feel helpless." "So humans need challenge to perform optimally?" Tholmakir asked. "In a way, yes. We evolved being challenged constantly. Our brains expect it. Give us too easy an environment and we actually perform worse." Bora, the journalist, was recording everything. Her reports were being transmitted across the galaxy and response was building. Medical institutions wanted copies of the research. Universities wanted to establish exchange programs. Some species were frightened by the implications, but most were simply fascinated. One evening, Taemin found Velroth alone in the observation room, reviewing weeks of compiled data. "I was wrong," the Krillian doctor said without preamble. "Not just wrong in my assessment. Wrong in my entire framework for understanding biology. I looked at humans and saw weakness because you lack what we have. But you do not need what we have. You have something else. Something better." "Not better," Taemin said. "Just different." "No. Better. For adaptability, for survival in changing conditions, for thriving in uncertainty, human biology is superior. I built my career on understanding biological efficiency, but you taught me that the most efficient system is not the one that does one thing perfectly. It is the one that can do many things adequately and learn to do them better." Velroth pulled up an image of human DNA. "This is the most sophisticated medical technology in the galaxy, and it is inside every one of you. You are walking, talking, self-improving biological machines. You do not need our advanced equipment for most things. You just need time and challenge, and your bodies do what our technology tries to replicate. So what happens now?" The grand hall of the Galactic Medical Institute was packed. Every seat filled, standing room crowded, and remote viewers numbered in the millions. 3 months had passed since Taemin's failed dissertation defense. Now he stood at the same podium, but everything had changed. Chairman Tholmakir opened the proceedings. "We are here to review the findings of the most comprehensive biological study ever conducted by this institute. Dr. Kim, the floor is yours." Taemin looked out at the audience. He saw physicians and scientists from hundreds of species. He saw Velroth in the front row, sitting beside Ixthar. He saw his team, Jiwoo, Sung-Ho, Daun in the wings, all of them exhausted but proud. They had worked 3 months straight to document everything. 3 months ago, I stood here and was told that human biology was inferior," Taemin began. "I was told we were fragile, inefficient, and poorly designed. The evidence seemed clear. By every static measurement, humans are weaker than most galactic species." He paused, letting that sink in. "But biology is not static. Life is not about how you start. It is about how you adapt. And that is where human biology becomes extraordinary." The first hologram appeared, a comparison of human and Krillian cellular structure under stress. When Dr. Velroth and I began testing, we used conventional metrics. Strength, speed, efficiency. By those measures, humans lost. But then something unexpected happened. Humans got better, not just recovered, improved. That led us to ask a different question. What if we have been measuring the wrong things? Daeyun's data filled the screens, graphs showing human cellular adaptation over time, neural plasticity measurements, immune system learning curves, metabolic flexibility charts. The data was overwhelming in its consistency. Human biology is not optimized for any single environment, Taemin continued. It is optimized for change itself. Every system in our bodies is designed to be rewritten based on need. Our muscles rebuild themselves stronger after stress. Our brains form new connections throughout our entire lives. Our immune systems learn from every threat and remember forever. Our metabolism can switch between different fuel sources based on availability. A Vryn physician raised a hand. But this adaptability must have cost. No biological system can be infinitely flexible. You are correct, Taemin acknowledged. The cost is initial inefficiency. A human body uses more resources than a Kryllian body of similar mass. We require more food, more water, more rest. Our baseline capabilities are lower, but those costs buy us something invaluable: the ability to improve indefinitely. Sung-ho stepped forward to present the medical findings. We tested human healing extensively after the accident involving Mr. Dongwook. What we found revolutionizes our understanding of regenerative medicine. Human healing is not just tissue repair, it is systemic optimization. When seriously injured, human bodies enter a crisis mode where every system coordinates for survival and recovery. Video played showing Dongwook's cellular recovery in accelerated time. The audience watched in silence as damaged organs rebuilt themselves, as blood flow rerouted, as stem cells mobilized with apparent purpose. No other tested species demonstrates this level of coordinated healing response. Sung-ho continued. Most species rely on localized regeneration. Humans orchestrate whole-body medical intervention. It is as if every human carries an emergency medical team inside their own cells. Ixthar presented the comparative biology analysis. The Vryn scientist had spent weeks verifying every finding. I approached this study with skepticism, he admitted. But the data is irrefutable. Human biology represents a unique evolutionary strategy. Where most species optimize for stability, humans optimize for uncertainty. He showed evolutionary trees, highlighting where human ancestors diverged from other primate species. The key evolutionary pressure was environmental unpredictability. Earth's climate varied wildly. Food sources changed seasonally. Predators varied by region. Humans could not specialize. They had to become good at everything. That pressure created biology that treats every challenge as a learning opportunity. Bora, the journalist, had compiled testimonials from the test subjects. Their stories played on the screens, ordinary humans doing extraordinary things. Minji explaining how her body learned to need less sleep during testing. Kyung-soo describing how exercises that exhausted him initially became easy by week 3. Jae-hyun showing brain scans proving he had literally grown smarter under stress. These are not superhuman specimens, Bora narrated. These are teachers, construction workers, scientists, and administrators. Average humans demonstrating that the average human is remarkable. Belroth stood when it was his turn. The massive Kryllian walked to the podium and the room quieted. Everyone knew his history with this research. I owe Dr. Kim and the human species an apology, Belroth said clearly. I judged human biology by Kryllian standards and found it wanting. But that was like judging a bird by how well it swims. I looked at human fragility and saw weakness. I should have seen flexibility. I looked at high metabolism and saw inefficiency. I should have seen capacity for rapid adaptation. I looked at soft skin and saw vulnerability. I should have seen superior thermal regulation and sensory feedback. He gestured to the data displays. Every characteristic I criticized is actually sophisticated engineering for survival in unpredictable conditions. Human biology is not flawed. It is brilliant. It is perhaps the most sophisticated adaptive system we have ever encountered. The Kryllian doctor pulled up a final chart, showing long-term projections. Here is what truly humbles me. Given sufficient time and challenge, human capabilities have no apparent ceiling. Kryllian capabilities are high but fixed. We cannot improve beyond our genetic baseline. Humans can always improve. Put a human in any environment, give them time, and they will adapt to it. Put them in space, they adapt. Put them underwater, they adapt. Put them in high gravity, they adapt. There is no environment where humans cannot eventually thrive. Admiral Haewon Kwan, head of Human Defense Forces, was attending remotely. Her image appeared on the main screen. The military implications of this research are significant, she said. But I want to address the fear I sense from some species. Yes, humans are adaptable. Yes, we are persistent. But these traits do not make us threats. They make us survivors. We want to be partners in the galaxy, not conquerors. Young Sik Lim, a diplomatic attaché, added his perspective. This research proves something humans have always known about themselves: we do not quit. But we also do not need to dominate. Our adaptability means we can find ways to coexist with anyone. We can learn your languages, understand your cultures, adapt to your environments. Our flexibility is diplomatic strength, not just biological strength. Chairman Thul Makir called for questions. Dozens of physicians wanted clarification on specific points. The questions went on for hours. How fast could humans adapt to high radiation environments? Could human immune systems learn to handle alien pathogens? What was the upper limit of human neuroplasticity? Taemin answered what he could and admitted what he did not know. We have only begun to understand human adaptive biology. This research opens more questions than it answers. We need partnerships with other species to fully explore human potential. A Kelth physician asked the question many were thinking. If humans can adapt to anything, does that mean you will eventually outcompete other species? Taemin considered carefully. Adaptation is not the same as supremacy. Yes, humans can learn to function in many environments, but we cannot do it alone. We need your technology, your knowledge, your perspectives. Human biology is remarkable, but human civilization requires cooperation. We are not trying to prove we are better than other species. We are trying to prove we are worthy of partnership with them. The formal presentation concluded, but the real impact was just beginning. Medical institutions across the galaxy requested copies of the research. Universities wanted to establish exchange programs for human and alien doctors to study together. Pharmaceutical companies wanted to understand human healing to develop new treatments. Some species reacted with fear. Humanity's adaptability seemed threatening, but most reacted with fascination and respect. Humans were no longer the weak newcomers. They were unique, valuable, and worthy of serious study. In the weeks that followed, the Galactic Medical Institute announced a new program. Human physicians would teach courses on adaptive medicine. Alien students would learn human techniques for working with changing biological systems. Velroth was the first to enroll as a student. The great Krillian physician sat in a classroom, learning from Sung-Ho about emergency medicine. He took notes carefully, asking questions, admitting ignorance. His pride had not disappeared, but it had transformed into humility before the complexity of biology. Taemin found him after class one day. "How does it feel being a student again?" "Uncomfortable," Velroth admitted, "but necessary. I have practiced medicine for 40 years thinking I understood biology. You showed me I understood only one type of biology. There are others. I have much to learn. We all do. That is the point." Ye Jin, the ambassador's daughter who had collapsed during Taemin's original presentation, recovered fully. The infection that had seemed so severe turned out to be her body learning to handle an alien pathogen.